can keep this as minutes and for reference afterwards. So good morning and welcome everybody. We have a strong 13 participants at the moment. As I was saying earlier, we've sent out about 35 invites to those who have said they want to be part of this. So take it this will be the first batch that we're going through. So what I have done is we have obviously stratted and had a look at what are the requirements. I have sent you a flow chart, and I'm going to hand over to Ivor and ask him to run through it. Just keep your conversation on mute, and the minute you want to say something, please just unmute, and we can see something's happening, and we will stop and let you have your say. Please, this is an interactive conversation, so let us know your thoughts. It's a new designation, and obviously we need to pilot this and go through it and make sure that it's to everybody. So welcome all, and Ivor, I'll hand over to you.
Aaron, can I just ask you to share the spreadsheet while I'm talking so that everybody can see the spreadsheet that you've sent out?
I'm reluctant to do that on the screen because I really think they can open it themselves. It is an attachment that they can see. The minute we do that, we might drop some people on bandwidth. Always a little tricky. That's why I included it in the email when I sent it.
Okay. Is it the same one that I sent you?
Absolutely. That's the one.
Okay. So thank you very much, and thank you, and hello everybody, and I hope you're all well on such a chilly morning, but thanks to Cape Town for the chilliness. So let's get started. The designation framework of the professional body makes allowances for the recognition of professional excellence at an operational level along 5 continuum of designations. In other words, 5 different designation categories. The master designation is a 6th designation category. It is the ultimate preeminent level of recognition of excellence in the sector, in the industry. And the difference in the designation is that whereas the operational designations are conferred after application and after people have applied for the designation, the master designation, on the other hand, are people who've been nominated to be recognized at a master's level, at a level which says that you have skills in multiple industries across multiple companies in the sector for an acceptable period of time, making you a doyen of the industry and therefore recognizable at that level as a doyen of the industry rather than necessarily only at the operational level. Now, the important thing is that as we normalize the master designation in the professional body, the requirement of an individual to have operational recognition, in other words, one of the forerunning 5 operational designations, will become more and more important and become more and more mandatory in recognizing a person at a master's level. However, at this moment in time, it is purely by recognition of excellence across the industries over a period, acceptable length of time, that we are going to be conferring the master's designation to get critical mass in for the professional body. So you as a group are our first pioneers for this master's designation. It is a designation by conferment. In other words, we confer the designation upon you rather than by application where you're asked to go through a normal designation application set of activities within the professional body. The net effect of it is that the time for conferring the designation should be a lot quicker than, in fact, the time for going through an application process for the 5 traditional and operational designations, which is the meat and potato business of the professional body. As the doyens of the sector, we want people in the sector, be they managers, owners, or operators, practitioners, we want them to be able to look up and aspire to be ultimately recognized as master practitioners in the sector, master professional practitioners in the sector. And so you are setting that aspirational goal. In recognizing you, we're saying to the rest of the practitioners out there, we want you to aspire to one day be recognized at this same level because of what it is these master practitioners have in fact achieved in their careers and in their lives. I was astounded at the discussion around the table of the Professional Body Council and, in fact, the Employer Association Council. I was astounded by the number of people who've been in this industry, or rather in the sector of contact centers, in excess of 20 years. In fact, it was 80% of the people at the Employer Association who, in fact, have been doing this job in excess of 20 years, and in multiple companies and in multiple jobs and across multiple industries. That's what makes you a truly excellent master practitioner in the sector. And it's that level of person that we want to be recognizing. So let's get to the criteria. The criteria, the professional body will reserve the right to change the criteria from time to time. But as things stand at the moment, we're saying that we want to be able to have a basic portfolio of evidence about you, the person who has graciously accepted our offer to you to be recognized at a master's level and now is in the process of being processed by the professional body for that recognition. We want you to understand that it's your portfolio of evidence that we're simply trying to establish with you by the consultation process and the collaboration process. It is not a screening process. It is simply about verifying that the evidence exists about what we think you have achieved and what you're able to assert and establish that you've achieved in the process of your 20 or 30 or even 10 to 15 year career. That period of time is not important as much as what you have done in that period of time. So the first thing is that we need to know that you've worked in the industries within the sector for at least 15 years. And we do this by looking at your CV, so we need you to have a comprehensive CV. We do it by your being able to find and let us have your letters of appointment. And please feel very free to redact from those letter of appointments confidential stuff like your salary and your benefits. Your reference letters, if you have received any reference letters or you're able to receive any reference letters. Confirmation of appointments by boards of directors, and evidence from your various employers of your job descriptions, etc., in that 15 or longer year period. Now, let me break at this stage and say that what we want to do is we want you to give us the details of your personal assistant or your secretary, because in fact it is that person that we want to have the next conference call with, and it is that person that we want to task with running around and collecting this kind of evidence, and if you want, building your own personal portfolio of evidence on your behalf. We realize that you guys are very, very pressed for time, and there is no requirement that you have to be building your portfolio of evidence on your own in isolation of the people that you pay to actually do these kinds of things for you. So we want to embrace working with those individuals on your behalf so that we can as quickly as possible build up this portfolio of evidence. Once we've got your general evidence of your career, we then want to look at whether or not you've spent 10 years or more at a senior management level, because that is a requirement. And here again, we look at your job descriptions, your promotion letters, performance appraisal results, your annual report, which might very well mention you in the annual report. And those are just some of the places we'd be looking to for evidence. I'm sure there are many other places. And really, it is going to be the job of the assessor that we put onto your case, who will look at your portfolio and together with you and the person assisting you, your secretary or your PA, indicate, what's missing and where we need to keep looking to gather that kind of information. We need to know that you have employed 150 or more staff for a minimum of 4 years and had 3 or more line managers reporting in for a minimum of 4 years in the course of your 15 or 20 or 30 years of experience in the contact center sector. And here we would look at your direct performance management reports that you initiated, that you conducted. We would look at references from HR or senior management about you, or simply even just letters of confirmation from people you may have reported to or may have walked alongside with. This is not about affidavits. It's not about, evidence which is so concrete and set in stone that it can't be corroborated or that it has to be corroborated from elsewhere. This is really about trusting the fact that you've walked this road and that all of these factors come together to basically talk about the kind of person you are and the kind of history you've had in the sector. We want to know that you're responsible for turnover of a budget in excess of 20 million for 5 years or longer. And really these are benchmarks. So when we say 150 or more staff, or we say 20 million or more for 5 years, these are benchmarks of the average contact center business that we've been looking at. We are quite happy to engage in dialogue with you on setting parameters for smaller businesses, for medium-sized businesses, and for larger-sized businesses that collectively we can all come up with and refine the criteria over time. But these are the standard criteria that we've established to initiate this process. We want to know that you've participated in or that you've led boards of directors for 5 years or more. And here we would look to your appointment to those boards, minutes of those board meetings, letters of appreciation, whatever is available to you, or that we can in fact generate with you, with people who are still alive from those experiences, who might be able to corroborate what it is you're saying about your experience. We want to know that you've been responsible for a minimum of 4 annual financial statements, and if you haven't been responsible as a chief executive officer, that you've been responsible as a participant in preparing or at least contributing to those annual financial statements. And here we would simply look at the annual financial statement submissions, if they're available, or your annual reports, or your integrated reports, if in fact you do integrated reporting in your business. Then we want to know that you've had 1 term on committees or forums such as an SME regarding skills, basic conditions of employment, training, whether you've served on an employer association, a trade association, a bargaining forum, or in bargaining councils, or in fact on a professional body. So we want to know either by way of a letter of appointment or a letter of reappointment or some kind of formal recognition of your status on those structures, even if it's just minutes, quite frankly. But we need to know that you've participated in the contact center community framework, governance framework, leadership framework outside of your own business to some extent or another. We want to know that you've written a thought leadership article or some kind of a document on contact centers, and we simply then need to either see that document or where it was published, whether it was internal to staff or to managers or external to the industry in a thought leadership or a trade magazine or a newspaper, etc., etc. And then very finally, we want to know that you're responsible for coaching and mentoring of at least 2 people in the course of your career. And here we would simply need confirmation letters from those individuals or documents which might have gone between you and them over the time of your coaching and mentoring. Now remember, we're not looking for all of these criteria to be satisfied with every single one of our applicants. We're simply looking for 60% of these criteria to be satisfied. So if we consider that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 criteria, it's 60% of those 9 criteria that we would look to apply in a judging whether or not to award you master professional practitioner in the contact center space recognition. Are there any questions at this stage? Because I know I've said a lot and spoken a lot, and I know there are people who are obviously going to be worried about, where you get this kind of evidence and how it's amassed. And my job is to try and put your mind at ease, as is Sharon's job. Sharon, you were trying to say something?
Yes, I was just going to say, I was just having a look at the list of attendees, and as we were going through the criteria, I was actually matching what the people in this group could supply on what I have done in the industry so far. Rose, it is so wonderful to have you part of this. And I mean, there alone, between Rose and I, for ourselves and what we've done, we can already attest to a lot of it. I look at Tanya. Tanya, you know, don't get worried. Look in this group and see who is there who can assist you and help with the direction and the verification of this criteria. And I was doing that for my own purposes, because earlier on I was thinking, where am I going to find Rob Angel? Where am I going to do this? Where am I going to do that? But now when you look at the people here, the solutions are sitting with us.
I think you're right, but you know, it is not difficult to recognize competence where it's staring you in the face, and that's what the master designation is, as opposed to the one where, you know, you're assessing a person for a designation based on their qualification, you're assessing a person for the designation based on the quality of their portfolio and their experience. This is a different situation. This is knowing that we are talking to people who are at the highest level of recognition in the industry and sector. It should simply become a formality. Are there any questions? Anybody want to make any statements before we carry on?
Sharon, I pride myself on not being a hoarder, so what if I don't have any of these things in writing anymore? Would we just get references from the people?
Absolutely.
Sharon,
So,
can I answer that? Can I come in here
Yeah.
and say that we would want you to please try and just get a letter, a one-paragraph letter of
Because there's
recognition?
no way I have letters of appointments or things like that. I don't
That's
even know if I have my current one. But that's just me.
As long as the company is still going, you know, it should be quite simple then just to get a letter of confirmation from that company. And that's why we would want your secretary or PA to chase it up if you have it, if you have such a person available to you. It's simply getting letters of confirmation. What we will do for each of these criteria is we will fill out a form. We will prepare a template form or questionnaire or both for each of these criteria that you're then able simply to get someone at that company to sign, or someone that you've mentored or coached before just to fill in, just attesting to the fact of what you've done. So we want to try and make it as easy as possible for you.
Okay, good. Okay, cool.
Any other questions, guys?
Yes, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Yes, Angela.
Excellent. Hi. Hi, good morning, everybody. Just this one turnover budget in excess of 20 million for a period of 5 years. I'm just wondering how, and maybe we can get into the detail a little bit longer, but I mean, I don't know how to show evidence for that. You know, and if it's my other question, if it's like 3 years and not 5 years, does that make a difference?
I think that what we will do is we'll deal with the evidence we get from the critical mass of people we are considering. And let's say, for example, exactly as you say, Angela, that the average amount of let's say, evidentiary proof is for 3 years, 2 to 3 years. Then we'll establish that. We will change that criteria to say 2 to 3 years as opposed to 5 years. So we're saying that if you feel that you're short on 1 or 2 of the criteria, submit what you've got for us. Show us what you've got as evidence, and we'll be able to consider it. Remembering that every one of these decisions is not made as a normal designation award, where in fact there is a process and there is sign-off by one individual. These decisions are made by way of a 3-people panel, who then are asked to consider the evidence once it's presented to them by the moderator. And to weigh up all of the factors. So please don't feel that because you can't meet the 5-year requirement, that you've got a 2 to 3 year requirement. We're simply wanting to say this about a master's person, that a master's person has been in control of a budget in excess of 20 million rand. The 5-year period is our criteria, but it could very well end up being a 3-year median period, which applies in this instance. We're quite happy to do that.
Okay, fantastic. And then just regarding the 20 million, is that South Africans in like the same kind of notion, or is the 20 million the benchmark?
No, at the moment it's a benchmark. It's a benchmark for a medium to a large size business. But remember, we're wanting master's recognition not to be restricted to medium or even to large size businesses. We're wanting it to be pervasive, small, medium, and large businesses. So, if, for example, if out of 20 master's candidates. There are 5 who are in small businesses where the average budget control is 3 to 5 million rand a year over a 3 to 5 year period. That then becomes the criteria where we apply then in the small business category for recognizing master practitioners. It's that simple.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Angela. That's great. Guys, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to be our low-hanging fruit centers of excellence in the sector. And we will bend over backwards to ensure that that happens, and at the same time be able to withstand the rigors of SACWA scrutiny in quality control and quality assurance. So those are the balls we're currently balancing, and yeah. So it should, hopefully it's explicit. Let me go now through the process. So we're planning that there will be a self-application process. So you will be asked to go online to the portal and complete a self-application process. We will then do a one-to-one advisory where you'll be contacted by an individual that's been appointed by the professional body to, if you want, mentor you through the process. And that will be him or herself, equally a CEO or previous CEO of a business, not necessarily in the contact center sector space, but certainly someone who understands the operating requirements at this level of recognition, who will then, if you want, mentor you and be your go-to person through the process of application. We will then do a neutral external desk-based assessment once we know that you've submitted the critical mass of information, and we anticipate that would be 30 working days of registration. So from day 1 to day 30, we will do a neutral external desk-based assessment, which would be done by registered assessors who would look at the information you've uploaded so far, indicate to you or your assistant what information is still required, and just continue walking down that road with you, because we want your vault to be properly populated, your personal vault, to be properly populated. The desk-based review will take 10 working days for a response to you. Once we know that 30-day period is over, if you need an extension, we'll give you an opportunity to ask for an extension. But basically, we're saying once your vault is ready, we want it to take no more than 2 working weeks for the assessor to come back to you with a final response to the content in your vault, to tell you what's still required, where they think you could supplement, and so that remediation can take place if it's required. And there again, we want remediation not to take more than 2 weeks, 10 working days for a response from you, and then another 10 working days or 2 weeks for a review of your vault by the same assessor. So essentially, as you can see, we're working in 2-week chunks, but eventually we want to progress to moderation, and we have moderators who've been appointed, and here we're saying we want another 2 working weeks, 10 working days or 2 working weeks for the moderator to moderate your application, to put in a moderator report, which is either a final recommendation to the professional body CEO for the panel to be constituted to consider recommendations for master designation, with a specific and expressed mandate from the professional body council board to approve or disapprove the designation. It will take 2 working weeks for the recommendation to be dealt with, or 2 working weeks for the rejection to be dealt with if there's a rejection. And the rejection will simply be, we're not yet ready, these are the areas we need you to address, please go ahead and address them, we're very happy to work with you in addressing them, etc. And there will always be options to extend time periods, because we understand that in your situation, your time is not always going to be your own, and we want to work with you to a final climax, a final conclusion, that was the wrong word, a final conclusion, so that we can actually say this is a finished process and it's been finished properly. Sharon, that sort of explains the process. Do you agree?
Absolutely, that is the process. So from our side, just to tell you what we're doing at the moment. So when you all applied, you uploaded your CV and you gave us feedback and some information on you. The team in Johannesburg is currently setting up each of your profiles on the system with those details. So by Friday next week, you will all have your login and your passwords. You can change it afterwards, but we're trying to help you here and do it on your behalf to start with. So you will have that by Friday next week. Then what I'll need you to do is I need you to go in and make sure that we haven't made a slip up somewhere and possibly added, because we are actually manually going to copy it across from the template that you completed now into your profile. Go and check, verify that. And then my suggestion is that from the 18th is day one, and we start from the 18th. Prior to that, if you would just send us the contact details, either say you're communicating directly with me, Angela, I'll be liaising with Michael as such. We have appointed Michael to be your interface in anything that you need to do, discuss. He's going to coach you through this on a weekly basis as you've done things, so that we keep track. The minute you're ready, we can then submit that to the assessors and moderators as we go through the process. So all I want from each of you is an email to say, this is it, thank you very much, I'm in, and then contact Sue, because she's my PA, and liaise with her, and she will stay in contact with me. I know some of us will do it ourselves. So I just need you to tell me that, because you've now gone through the briefing. I am incredibly excited about this. I really think that this is going to uplift this industry again, when we have all of you superstars out there being recognized for, and as Ivor said, yeah, we've got 35, I'm not going to mention names because I'm not going to give away ages, but there are people with 35 years worth of experience sitting in this team, and more, one in particular that I know. That happened.
Sharon, can I come in here and say that it's not an honorary conferment of recognition. And what I mean by that is that this is a community of people that once conferred as master professional practitioners, we are going to look to form a I'm using the wrong word now, but exclusive, certainly not elite group of people, but as an exclusive group of people who become responsible for thought leadership in this sector, who collectively become responsible for activities within the sector. Not that we want to take up your time, but we certainly want to tap into your minds, and we need to make you as a group the go-to group for engagement, for collaboration, and for recognition of what happens in this sector. When it comes to NASCOM in India, for example, it's you as a group of people that we're putting out to the international community as the subject matter experts of the South African Contact Center community, as a collective. And so our job then is to set you up globally to be recognized as the important subject matter experts in our sector. At the top of the pyramid of professional recognition, below which there are 5 levels leading to your level of practitioners and operational practitioners. So there is a reciprocal obligation. As much as we're giving you recognition, we're expecting from you a reciprocal obligation to give back into the sector and in this industry. And if one can be so crude as to use the term continuous professional development, it will apply to you equally as much as it will apply to other designees of the other 5 designations in the professional body taxonomy. So I didn't mention that in my lead-in, but I do think it's important to be mentioning it now, that there is a reciprocal obligation. And if you feel that you don't have the time or the interest, or that you're not involved in the sector to the extent that if we recognize you, we can expect certain things from you, not obligations, but certainly commitment back to the sector, then, we will understand if you say at this stage, I don't feel up to it. And please, I'm not encouraging any of you to say that. All I'm encouraging you to do is understand the reciprocal nature of the obligation that we're not imposing on you, but we're requesting from you here.
Ivor, shall I just go through the existing continuous professional development that is going to be required going forward?
Please, feel free.
Okay, so just so you know what you're setting yourselves up for, other than the flow chart that we've just gone through, to maintain your designation and current CPD requirements will be that you are going to do a recorded podcast for distribution by the professional body. This is annually. You are going to submit a 1,000-word article, which we can then use and distribute into the industry. Provide proof of promoting professionalism in your company, the country, and also in the industry. Obviously maintaining your membership with a professional body. Provide proof of your mentorship activities in your company or in the industry, and participation at functions or events linked to the industry.
And Sharon, can I come in here and say that all of this will be facilitated by the professional body, in the sense that if it's a podcast, we will do the podcast, and all you have to do is make yourself available telephonically, for example. If it's an article, we will work with you on if you want planning that article, scripting the article. In other words, we want to make your lives as easy as possible, particularly at this level, because we understand how busy you are. So please don't feel that you have to be doing all of these things or any of these things on your own.
Any feedback from the guys out there?
Sharon, I think it's simple enough.
Sharon, dropping off
what
like
we do already.
Sorry, and you were saying?
I was saying to Sharon and to you guys, I think that the requirements are pretty simple. I mean, most of us are doing a lot of this already, so that's not an issue for me.
Any other feedback that you guys want to just weigh in? As soon as we get your confirmation, Michael will be in contact and you will start your one-on-one conversations, and he will guide you through getting logged in and getting yourself set up and getting going. Hey.
Hi there, Sharon.
Oh, hi, Robert.
Hi. Thank you for the invite. It's very exciting, and I'm happy to participate.
Thank you. We look forward to it. We really do. Okay, Ivor. It seems to be easy. We've answered all their questions. We look forward to their emails, and a really exciting journey.
Excellent. And my understanding then, Sharon, is that this discussion will be available online.
Yes, Ivor, it's all been recorded. I'm going to share it with everybody that's currently on the call, as well as those who couldn't make it. I've been getting messages. They can't connect. They're having an issue. Their telecom is down in their area, all those various things. And I will share this with everybody.
Sharon, for me.
So I think just before you go, sorry, I don't know, somebody talking.
Okay. Pommy
sorry, Angela, it's Barbara here.
Okay, okay, let's go. Angela, you there? Talk, then we'll do Pommy and then
Yes.
Barbara.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for the nomination. I think this is a fantastic program. I'm really excited to participate, and it's absolutely what the industry needs. So just a big thank you and shalom from me.
Thank you. Pommy, I heard you.
Yeah, you always do. I just wanted to ask, are you going to ask us for our PA's details, or should we submit it to you guys via the forum that's on this invite?
No, just send me an email. You've got my details.
Okay.
Let me start. I will put together the list of the people with the communication with your contact details before I hand it over to Michael. I want to just make sure everything is ticked and ready, and my Jovic team have got a list so that they know who they're sorting out. So please just directly send me an email. That's the request.
Guys, just to come in here, and Pommy, in answer to your question, Sharon, what I'd like us to be doing is giving it, let's say, a week for everyone to get their details to you of their assistants, if they have assistants. And then for us to rerun today's discussion as an online discussion for those assistants, so that we can orientate them through exactly the same process. And by then, hopefully have some templates and forms available for each of the criteria as well, that they can start working with. So between you and myself, Sharon, we can set up a date then to have a telephone conference of this nature, but with those assistants, so that we lead them and guide them through the process.
That we will do. That's why I said we're going to do all of that during the week next week. So if everybody responds by the 14th, then we are ready. We'll be up and running for them on the 18th.
Great. And then just one other question. Is it at all in the cards that we should get together at some point? I think post the process that you guys are going to go through, and you've gotten to the point where you've verified. I think I've also gone through the list, and I can possibly say that every single person on this list will meet the criteria. Is there a planned get together for all of these recipients? What are we? Nominees? So that we could actually get together.
If I can come in here and say that the reason that the professional body have in fact initiated this master's designation is because the Employer Association have said to the professional body, we need a high level focus group of subject matter experts in this sector of this nature who satisfy this criteria as a thought leadership group within the Employer Association for the industry and for the sector as a whole. So what we're going to do as the Employer Association, and sorry, when I speak here, I wear a number of hats, but as the Employer Association chairperson, what we're intending to do is we're intending to create that focus group, if you want, as a subcommittee of the Employer Association, where the criteria for entry into that subcommittee is in fact either being on the road to or having been recognized as a master professional practitioner. So yes, 100%. We're looking to have a permanent grouping activity amongst you as a group of individuals, and I would imagine that we would be able to initiate that first meeting within 6 weeks of the commencement of this program.
Okay. I know that everybody's around the country, so we'll try and make it obviously central to the majority of people, I would assume.
It will be a combination of face-to-face and Skype, so exactly as we do with the Employer Association and the professional body.
Perfect. Happy.
And my intention is then, as we go through this process, we already have on the cards 2 get-togethers and 2 meetings with thought leaders that we're going to share. There's a program around it as the year rolls out. But for this year in particular, just before we launch this into SACWA itself, is going to be the conference and the awards. And I would really like to see everybody there so we can recognize you. And as a team, you can be part and parcel of what we are delivering.
Good. That's it from me.
Okay. If there isn't anything else, I've checked. There are no messages coming through, so nobody's shouting out that we've ignored them. I thank you all. I'm giving you some time back. How's that? We do deliver.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thanks, Ivor.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you,
Bye, Sharon.